That could sound kind of funny. Okay, are you ready? Yeah, everybody? All right. Let's do this thing. Let me get a sip of water. All right. Let's all take a very deep breath and close our eyes. We see in the middle of our mind a little ball of golden light. We watch this light as it begins to grow, larger and larger, until now it covers the entire inner vision of our mind. We see for ourselves within this light a beautiful temple. We see a garden that surrounds the temple and a body of water that flows through the garden. We see that the inside of the temple is lit as well by this same beautiful golden light. And here we are, for we have been drawn together by the power and in the presence of God. We devote our time spent together, all of our relationships and experiences of one another to Him. And we pray that His most Holy Spirit be upon us, lifting us above and beyond the turmoil, the fears, and the limitations of this world to the endless love and peace that lay beyond. And so it is. Together, we all say, Amen. A Course in Miracles is a psychological mind training. It is not a religion. There's no doctrine. There's no dogma. It is based on universal spiritual themes. And A Course in Miracles involves our understanding certain principles that rule the internal universe. Just as there are objective discernible laws that rule the outer world, such as gravity, the law of thermodynamics, and so forth, there are laws that rule the inner life, objective discernible laws that rule the internal domain. The law that is the organizing principle of the universe is the law of cause and effect. So law one is that every thought creates form on some level. Every thought that is a thought of love is a thought that is true to who we are. Because who you are, A Course in Miracles teaches us, is an idea in the mind of God. When you think a thought of love, you are literally co-creating with God. The universe, as we often say here, is both self-organizing and self-correcting. The Course in Miracles says miracles are natural. When they do not occur, something has gone wrong. What it is saying is that the natural order of the universe is such that any thought of love gives rise to harmony. Once again, the universe is self-organizing. But the universe is also self-correcting. So whenever we see a manifestation, whether it is in our individual lives or whether this is a reflection of a collective field of thought, it doesn't matter. Either way, if it is an unloving expression in the outer world, as students of A Course in Miracles, we are to remember it's an outer symptom, it's an outer reflection of inner thought. You can't change on the level of effect or externality without changing on the level of cause or thought. That would be like going up to the screen in a movie theater and thinking that somehow by manipulating the screen you could change the plot. The atonement is the correction of our perception, where we ask ourselves in any situation where there is an absence of love on the outside, where the absence of love was on the inside. If we then correct the thinking that produced the external symptom of lovelessness, that means that having corrected on the level of cause, the effect will automatically change itself. Now, the Course in Miracles begins, the text begins with what's called the 50 Principles of Miracles. And I want to read you number 32. It says, I inspire all miracles, which are really intercessions. Intercessions, divine intercessions. I inspire all miracles, which are really intercessions. They intercede for your holiness and makes your perceptions holy. By placing you beyond the physical laws, they raise you into the sphere of celestial order. In this order, you are perfect. Now let me read that again. I inspire, this is the Holy Spirit of God speaking, the voice for God. I inspire all miracles, which are really intercessions. They intercede for your holiness and make your perceptions holy. By placing you beyond the physical laws, they raise you into the sphere of celestial order. In this order, you are perfect. What is the celestial order? The celestial order is the implicate order that scientists sometimes speak about. It is the Garden of Eden. The celestial order is when the planets are revolving around the sun. The celestial order is when all is harmonious and all is working. We've all had moments of celestial order in our lives. It's when you're in love, you're holding a baby, people are forgiving each other. We've all been there. We've all had moments of celestial order. Now, on this planet, because of free will, we have complete freedom, whether to think the thoughts of love that maintain and preserve and download into the regions of physicality, the celestial order, or we choose, and we are always choosing. We might be making the choice consciously, we might be making the choice unconsciously, but we are always choosing. Either I am downloading from higher consciousness, the realm of the divine, the thought of love, then expressing it, both thinking it and expressing it. Not enough to just change your behavior either, because the Course in Miracles says all thoughts creates form on some level. So it's not just our activity, it's not just our behavior. Every thought, that's how powerful thought is. Every thought creates form on some level. Every moment we choose. Are we downloading? Are we choosing to think the thoughts of love and to have those thoughts so affect our energy, our behavior, our attitudes, that we are then extensions of that love, thereby being vessels of the celestial order on earth, or are we not? In any moment when we choose, consciously or unconsciously, thoughts of lovelessness, thoughts that knock us out of the celestial order, thoughts that knock us out of the celestial order, which is the metaphysical meaning of the exile from the Garden of Eden. It is the state of separation. It is a thought that blinds us to the truth. It is an eclipse of God, but it is not a destruction of God, because the divine love of God can never be destroyed, but it can be eclipsed. It can be something that we do not see. It can be something that seems hidden behind a fog or a cloud, making us vulnerable to the belief that it doesn't even exist at all. When that happens, what we need is a divine intercession. Now, going back, not only is the universe self-organizing, but the universe is self-correcting. These principles, we talk about the same principles over and over and over again. In spirituality and metaphysics, you get to the point where you're not going to learn something new. You don't come to these lectures or anywhere where you study these kinds of principles at a certain point to learn something that you don't know yet. That's not what this is about. At a certain point, enough of us have the toolkits, enough of us have read enough of the books, enough of us have listened to enough of the tapes, that you don't come somewhere like where you are right now, so much to hear something you didn't already know, as it is so that we can practice more deeply, to apply more deeply those things which by now, intellectually, we do already know. And that's why it's not about learning something new, it's about practicing the attitudinal musculature. It's like when you go to the gym. You're going to work on the same muscles you worked on last time. But if you don't work on those muscles, then they're going to start to get flabby. And the same is true of our attitudinal muscles. So it's not enough to just know it. We have to practice it. And not only that, unlike physical exercise, with these principles, The thinking of the world is so contrary to these principles that what might seem in a room like this like common sense, because actually it is common sense, but in a room like this and with like-minded people, it's so easy to agree, oh yeah, that's common sense. But once you go out into the world, which is dominated by a thought system which is complete opposite of this, then that which is insane, the prevailing mythos of the civilization is that that which is utterly insane is what's actually true, and what is actually true to the heart is what's fantasy and insane. So when we talk about a divine intercession, we're talking about something very practical. The Course in Miracles talks often about how it's a practical course. This is not about some woo-woo out there stuff. This is about how we stand in our own lives. And you see, whether it's in your life or in the life of your country perhaps, or something else on the planet, and you go, well, this is crazy, this is dark, this is not working, right? The issue is then to realize, okay, what is the principle? The principle is that either I, or on the level of the collective, somebody, and when it comes to I, the Course in Miracles says it's very important that you take responsibility for your own experience. But if you don't take 100% responsibility for your experience, the price you pay is that you can't change it. So the ego mind is like a scavenger dog, really into what, it was your fault, it was your fault, it was your fault, it was your fault. But in most experiences of life, we at least had something to do with it. And so you don't heal by the pointing outward, we heal by the pointing inward to recognize where we ourselves need to atone for any mistakes we made. If it's a collective manifestation, where there is a person or a group of people or whatever it is, the Course in Miracles says that the divine intercession occurs naturally as expressions of love. So when there's a desire to be a miracle worker, what that means is I stand within this situation, I see that it's not working, and even in our own individual lives, you'll notice, let's keep it on a real personal level for now. Something's not working in your life. Something's not working in a relationship. Two things are going on. Number one, the fact that this situation even occurred, to some extent, is an expression of where we ourselves need a healing, or else it would not have occurred. Now, there are situations, obviously, heinous crimes and so forth, but we all know that in the vast, vast majority of our lives, that's not what's usually going on, thank God. What's usually going on are the normal situations of life and the problems of life that arise. So the Course in Miracles says, number one, this is a reflection of a place where you are wounded, a place where you're not bad, but you're wounded. It's a place of your own neuroses or separation from self. But number two, and this is just as important, not only has this situation arisen, and probably arisen again, because you probably had this kind of thing happen before, it could be in your romances, your marriage, your body, your work situations or whatever, not only is it something that has occurred before, but it is also something that will tempt you into a dysfunctional reaction in an effort to heal it. Does that make sense? So whenever a problem occurs, the mind that is the mind that not only creates the problem, but then seeks to maintain the problem, will go into how somebody else messed up, or somebody else is messing up, or whatever it is that your mind would go into. The thought that somebody else messed up and blaming and judging somebody else for messing up is a way of failing to recognize the atonement, failing to love. And the divine intercession can only occur in the space of love. So what you do when you have a problem is, number one, the training of the Course is, number one, where did I help create this? Where did I acquiesce to the situations that created this? Even on the national level. We have not protected our democracy. We've not taken care of our democracy. We've not stood consistently for justice. We've not made consistent stands proactively. We just haven't. And so if it wasn't this person, it would have been somebody else. If you leave your doors open, you leave your windows open, then you make it all about the thief. You don't really want to talk about the fact that you left your doors open, you left your windows open. Does that make sense? And there's a lot of atonement in there, but we don't want to get off what the principles are for now. But there is a lot here about recognizing where the initial cause of a problem occurred. Now, the universe is both self-organizing and self-correcting. The Course in Miracles says the moment a problem occurs, God has the answer. just like on a GPS. You took the wrong turn, the GPS automatically recalibrates so that you're still headed towards the destination, but you're just going to take a different route. Now, this is where the difference between hope and faith comes in. This is where you get your conviction. The Course in Miracles says miracles arise from conviction. You don't look at a problem either in your life or in the life of your country or your planet or your species or whatever and say, I hope this can be okay. You have faith that it can be okay, which is different. And your faith, as a Course in Miracles student, once again, these are universal spiritual themes. Your faith is based on the notion that the universe is self-correcting. The moment this happened, the organizational possibility already was sketched in the mind of God, as it were. And each and every one of us are programmed on deep subconscious levels to play the part that we can best play, to be in collaboration with others to bring forth the healing. Does that make sense? Now that's very different. I hope it will be okay. We've sort of done that one. We hope it will be okay is very different than I know it will be okay. I hope it will be okay, first of all, does not inspire miracles. It does not inspire miracles from you, because you don't know who you're supposed to be hoping is going to fix this, or you hope somebody else is going to fix it, or all kind of thoughts that are actually out of alignment with the deeper truth. I know it's going to be okay. It comes from that place of the realization that faith is not blind, faith is visionary. Faith is visionary. You know that no matter how dark the night, morning is coming. You know that no matter how tough the winter, spring is coming. You know that no matter how problematical a manifestation might be at the moment, there is already within the mind of God the answer. Now just take a moment and think about your own individual problems. Think about your own individual situations where there's disharmony at work or in a personal relationship or whatever. Remember, even when it comes to personal relationships, the Course in Miracles says, all who meet will someday meet again until their relationship becomes holy. So there's absolutely nothing happening in your life that seems like a problem in which the answer is not already existing in the mind of God, in the architecture that is possible. Now that's like saying there's a house, but then there's the architectural renderings by which the house will be built. And a lot of the problems that we make in our lives come about from the fact that we are seeking to build the house without following the architectural blueprint. And if you are only trying to build your house based on your own ideas of what the house should look like, and we've actually all seen houses like that, right? Right, you can tell no great architect was really at work here. Somebody just kind of thought, well, maybe I'll build a wall there, right? So God, think of divine mind, or God, as the divine architecture. The Course in Miracles says we have an authorship problem. And the Course in Miracles says, beware the danger of self-initiated plans. Self-initiated plans are basically what this world trains you to think of and to make. Figure out what you want and go for it. And whenever you're coming from a place of trying to figure out what you want and go for it, that is outside the ethical ring. It is outside the cosmic order. Because the cosmic order is not one in which we think, I got to just figure out what I want and go for it. I got to just figure out what I want and go for it is, once again, when you're confused, you have an authorship problem. You think it's all about you generating plans. And it's also that malignant consciousness we talk about, where the cancer cell is a cell that has forgotten that it's only here to collaborate with other cells to serve the healthy functioning of the whole. The cancer cell is a cell that has lost its connection to a divine intelligence, and instead of following a divine intelligence, is going off to do its own thing. And that is what's happened to the human race. And that is what has happened in too many cases in our own country. That it's been everybody thinking that there's no higher good than figuring out what I want and going for it. And that's what has caused, in many ways, the problems we are in now. It was this, like, everybody's just going out and doing their own thing, rather than thinking enough about how our activities and our thoughts and our behavioral patterns actually dwell within a collaborative matrix by which we serve the whole. Does that make sense? Okay, so we recognize as soon as there is a manifestation that is problematical, okay, first of all, human beings did this. God didn't do this. Like, you know, you don't say, how could God let all these children starve? 12,000 children starve every day, even though so far, thank God, there is no dearth of food on the planet. We could feed those babies. But there are 12,000 children who starve every day. Well, you might say, what kind of God would let children starve? God doesn't let those children starve. We let those children starve. So you start with that. You start with the recognition that blaming others, because once again, if it's something that came from us, then that means if it hadn't been that person, it would have been another person. If it hadn't been that situation, it would have been another situation. If it hadn't been in that town, it would have been another one. So we correct on the level of perception. And we know, as this says, I inspire all miracles which are really interesting. They intercede for your holiness and make your perceptions holy. By placing you beyond physical laws, they raise you into the sphere of celestial order. Okay, so you realize that when you are stuck in the realm of dense materiality, and sometimes on the level of dense materiality, it could be a personal situation. It could also be a collective situation where they have all the political power because they have it all sewn up. Sometimes on the level of dense materiality, you are cooked. You with me? But in A Course in Miracles, you simply realize, it's like when I was young, they used to say, could have had a V8. There was a commercial, oh, could have had a V8. You remember, as a Course in Miracles student, what we need is a miracle. Ask for a miracle. To pray for a miracle, in the Course in Miracles says that a prayer is the medium of miracles. To pray for a miracle is to pray that your perceptions be changed. Now, when Einstein said the problems of the world will not be solved on the level of thinking we were at when we created them, this is what he meant. If we stay only within a realm of dense materiality, there's a limit to how much we can do to solve a problem, and the problem itself came about because we were only dwelling within the realm of dense materiality. Does that make sense? And we live in a world that defines power in terms of dense materiality. Money, dense materiality, has power. Technology, dense materiality, has power. Business, dense materiality, has power. Government, dense materiality, has power. Institutions, dense materiality, has power. Buildings, dense materiality, has power. The body, dense materiality, has power. But dense materiality is all within a realm that is ultimately, in a spiritual sense, itself illusion. The Course in Miracles, Buddha, Einstein, all say that the realm of the three dimensions is itself a realm of illusion. And when our focus is on the realm of dense materiality, we will not only create problems within the realm of dense materiality, but we will be unable to solve them within the realm of dense materiality. So a miracle is a divine intercession. And it is an intercession that comes about because we expand our sense of what's possible, but you only can expand your sense of what's possible if you expand your sense of what's real. So you go, well, I know that I live within this body, I know dense materiality exists, I dwell within this, I respect it for what it is, I enjoy it where it's enjoyable, but it is not who I am. It is not what we are, and it is not what is real. This lifts our thinking, and it makes us vessels for the intercession, because once you no longer focus on the physical, once you no longer think in terms of what's possible based only on the physical, then, as the Course in Miracles tells us, you are lifted above the physical laws. That's why he says in the Course in Miracles, I assure you, time and space are under my control. Now, does this mean that you can jump out the window on the 30th floor and not have a serious problem when you hit the ground? No, that's not what it means. But being lifted above the physical laws very much means things like, if the person who talking to would provide the highest maximal possibility and opportunity for you to be used as part of a collaborative matrix by which the two of you would be able to be more effective by having met and working together than you would have been separately, it will happen. Those synchronistic opportunities will occur. Why? Because you place yourself within the celestial order. Now, a lot of times, with our own personal problems and with our collective problems, we all go into what do we do, what do we do, what do we do, what do we do? But the deeper question from a miracle-minded perspective is not what do I do? And we say this all the time. The solutions in life are not on the horizontal level. The solutions in life are on the vertical level. The horizontal level is the level of the earth. What do I do to change the world? But what do I do to change the world, once again, is changing on the level of effect. So it's not about figuring out what to do. The mind that strategizes is not the mind that can bring forth a miracle. That is particularly important in today's political environment, because there is a limit to what can be done within certain contexts right now, given certain political realities. But miracles are where you realize that your greatest power does not come from, quote unquote, figuring out what to do. The problem comes from making yourself fully available to miracles. Does that make sense? It is the level of our availability to God to be used for God's purposes that either expands or limits how much we will be used for God's purposes. And most of us, most of the time, give God part of our lives. Look, I'm in a relationship these days, I have work, I have a lot I need to do, I have this I have to do, this I have to do, this I have to do, but look, when I have some time, when I've dealt with all of that, definitely show me what I can do. That's where most of us live, with God. If we're honest with ourselves, we see our spirituality over here. But spirituality is not a separate category of life. Spirituality becomes the underpinning of everything. And so spirituality, being the path of the heart, is the mental path by which we wake up in the morning, and mornings are so important. I've never read about any serious spiritual or religious path that did not focus on the power of the mornings. Because the morning is when your mind is open to new impressions. And if you wake up in the morning, you read the newspaper, go to the computer, go to all that stuff, just download all the thinking of the world, particularly today. It's so filled with stress. It's so filled with things that could make you fearful. It's so filled with things that could make any of us, throw any of us out of alignment with the thought of our own individual power. So just as you take a shower to get the dirt off your body, you say your prayers, do your meditations. Your meditation literally shifts brain waves. The Course in Miracles says 5 minutes spent with the Holy Spirit in the morning is enough to guarantee He will be in charge of your thought forms throughout the day. And then you say, what is the greatest power for effectiveness and manifestation that there is? Use me. You don't go out seeking to manifest because you have the intention to manifest or whatever. Intention can be used for either ego or spirit. You know? The issue is to serve God's intention through you. Miracles and magic are different. Magic in Course in Miracles terms is where you kind of treat God as your errand boy somehow. Like I want this, and I want this, and I like to live here, and I like an apartment. This is how big I'd like it to be, and this is how much money I'd like to make, and this is what I'm visualizing for the relationship that I want, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to use the power of intention to attract those things to me. That's magic. I'm not even saying it won't work. It's just not anywhere near the spiritual mountaintop. The spiritual mountaintop is not where you're making God and universal principle into your errand boy. The Course in Miracles says you don't ask for too much, you ask for too little. You're actually playing small when you do that. You're playing small because what the universe has in store for you, what the universe already has programmed in the mind of God, it is already programmed in the divine mind that you would be lifted to the highest level of creative possibility in this life, beyond anything you could even imagine, and that with that will come the highest level of abundance and joy. Your trying to manifest it actually interrupts the flow. So you not only, the Course in Miracles says, does God's plan works, but yours won't. You actually interrupt that when you try to, once again, because you have the authorship problem, and you see yourself as the generator. I got to generate all this stuff. But can you generate the flower? Can you generate the planets revolving around the sun? Can you generate the miracles of nature? And that really is the question here. You can let the same power that turns embryos into babies and babies into grown-up human beings, the same power that turns buds into blossoms, the same power that makes an acorn into an oak tree, the same power that keeps planets revolving around the sun, you can allow that same natural intelligence. It is not a different natural intelligence. You are the crown of creation. You can allow that same natural intelligence to flow through you that you might blossom. that you might become, you are programmed, just as the acorn is programmed to become the oak tree, you are programmed to become, as a human being, the highest expression of possibility for you in this lifetime, which, by the way, is infinite. The Course in Miracles says that the people on the planet throughout history who've achieved the most have achieved a fraction of what each and every one of us are capable of. Now, you can let that natural intelligence do that through you, or you can do it yourself. It's completely up to you. And yet, that's how we live. I'll do it myself, right? So, particularly at a time of trouble, the last person to trust is yourself. That's why, it's like they say in AA, your best thinking got you here. Let's be very clear. The whole human race needs to see this. The human race, here we have this planet that can be so gorgeous. Human relationships that can be so blissful. And we are living at a time where we have to worry about things like nuclear war and climate, complete unsustainability and destruction and warfare, even though nobody, there was an email, a tweet, not surprising. Well, actually, it wasn't a tweet. It came from an official. Iran, we put you on notice. So I tweeted, Iran, I put you on, it said, Iran, be on notice. And I tweeted, Iran, I put you on notice. I love you. To every man, woman, and child in Iran, be on notice. I love you. And it's been so beautiful. And it's been so beautiful looking at some of the tweets that come back. We heard that. We love you too. Because this is not people who are feeling this way. This is this thing that's happening in our midst and in our name. This is not the people of the world. This is not the way the people of the world naturally would dwell in relationship to each other. These are these collective thought forms of greed and oppression and separation particularly, and nation states and geopolitical dramas and all of this stuff that has nothing to do with the truth of who we are. Nothing to do with the truth of who we are, but that literally threaten, should we not be careful, the sustainability of the planet and even the sustainability of life on Earth. So we need miracles. But miracles will not come about just because we try to, quote unquote, figure out what to do. It's too late in the game for that. There will be miracles. I have this image. You know how, because remember, the Holy Spirit works through your subconscious mind. And so often we say, well, I don't know what Spirit is telling me. Often you do know what Spirit is telling you. You're not sure you like what Spirit is telling you. Often you have all kinds of intuitive hunches and you have all kinds of pictures in your mind. But what doing these kinds of things, reading these kinds of books, studying these kinds of things does is it gives you confidence in your own intuition, and it gives you confidence to actually look at pictures. You know, you live long enough and you make certain mistakes in life and you realize you did have an intuitive warning, or you did have an intuitive hunch, or you did have a sense and you didn't follow it because you weren't thinking in a way that would have given precedence to that. You were thinking in a way, I often tell the story of how I had a book that came out early in my career, and Oprah Winfrey had made a huge, because of her, my first book had been a huge success. This is my second book. And I would pray, and her office was not getting back to us about whether or not to have me on her show for her second book, for my second book. And I prayed about it, and I meditated about it, and I kept it wasn't like I didn't get it. I got a message very clear: do nothing. That was my message: do nothing. But the voices of publishers and lawyers and publicists were saying, you need a national show, we got to book a national show, and all this stuff, right? And before that, I hadn't even had lawyers, publishers, and publicists speaking in my head, right? But now when you got to book a national show, and I would pray and I would meditate, do nothing, do nothing. We got to book a national show, we got to book a national show, blah, blah, blah. Do nothing, do nothing. Now, who I am today, and who I should have been then, theoretically, would have said, I'm turning off my phone, I'm not listening to any of you, I prayed, I've meditated, and all I get is do nothing, right? But obviously she's not interested. Obviously she's not interested because she would have called by now if she was interested. We got to book a national show. I kept praying. The Course in Miracles says once the Holy Spirit gives you an answer, it's not going to change it, right? It's not going to like rethink the issue. Do nothing, do nothing, do nothing. Well, you can probably guess what happened, because I said, well, okay, I guess you're right. I mean, you keep praying, and that's not like her. And I don't know, but she's not calling. Oh, obviously she's not interested. Obviously she doesn't like this one, and got to book a national show. And they booked a national show, and understandably, once you book somebody else, she's not going to have you. And once they booked this national show, I remember it was a very long time ago, where you had a voice machine, and I was in the bathtub, and I heard the voice machine, her saying, I like this one even better than the last one. I wanted to drown myself because I had already booked another show. And also I didn't know in those days to say unbook it. I didn't know that either. My point was, I did get the right answer. The part of your mind that is in touch with God on worldly things, it's not just celestial things, it's worldly issues. The Course in Miracles is very practical. The part of the mind that is in touch with Spirit knows what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't. Knows how things fit into the larger whole. But the strategizing mind, no. The strategizing mind that is tied to dense materiality says we do it this way. And it's so important for us on the planet at this time, not only in our own individual lives, but also in terms of the whole entire picture. The way we had been thinking is the problem. Miracle thinking is very different. Miracle-minded thinking, particularly now, and I think the collective crisis that we're in is calling all of us. You know, that's another thing. I heard it this weekend at Sister Giant. A lot of people are feeling like, well, I don't really have time for a national crisis. I don't have time for a political crisis right now, because I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this, which is just more, I'll give God this much of my life. I'll give my country this time of my life. But as my mother used to tell us all the time, World War II was not convenient. But you show up for life. And when you show up for life and just ask how you can be used, then it's not only something that serves the whole, it is something that will serve you individually. This girl who was saying at Sister Giant, well, I want to show up, you know, at this time of the crypto-fascist takeover of my country. I get that that's somewhat significant. She said, however, I have my dreams I want to come true. Well, once you look at life from a spiritual, miracle-minded perspective, if something huge is happening in your life, or something huge is happening on the planet, and you're not showing up for it, there's no way your dreams can come true. It's like people who say, I'm really in love with you, but I don't have time for a relationship. Right? I really have to concentrate on my career now. I really have to concentrate on my career now. So they put relationships over here. And this is, a lot of times it's men that do that, but sometimes it's women who do that. Sometimes it's actually an excuse because I don't really care that much, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's, I don't think that I can show up for love and show up with what I need to be in my career at this time. But the truth of the matter is, anytime you show up for love, it actually expands your life. It expands time and space. It lifts you above the physical laws. Because anytime you're saying, I'm going to strategize what I need to do, and you listen to the voices of strategy, I have to figure out what to do. I don't have time to love. You are tying yourself, you're limiting yourself to what is metaphysically the realm of the crucifixion, where you can't get off the cross. You are nailed to the wood. You are nailed to dense materiality, and you keep being nailed long enough to dense materiality, you can't even breathe there. To be lifted above that is to place yourself in the reparative, restorative, miracle-minded, resurrective mentality, which is, I am only here, whatever it looks like in whatever situation. It's not about what's going to be a bestseller or what's going to be the thing that you think is going to make you money or the thing that's going to do this or going to do that. Nothing like that. It's a radical availability to God, knowing that that is the cosmic order. We're afraid that if we surrender our lives to God, everything will fall apart. The ego says, no, you can't surrender your life to God. Everything will fall apart. I'm just about to make this deal. You can't surrender your life to God. Everything will fall apart. You're almost there. You can't go in that direction now. You got to stay with the plan. Don't you remember we have a plan? I hate it when people say that to me. But you said, well, I said it then, but I say this now. You said this. You said that. We got this plan. And it's like we all are like blindly following. When you make yourself radical, it's like you're going from black and white photography to color. You just expand to this realization that the same power which knows how cells collaborate in such a way that the heart beats and the lungs breathe, put us together with each other. And you stand in that space of radical wonder and awe, and you are available to the day, and you are available to the person in front of you, because both the bad things and the good things come from out of the blue. If you don't make yourself radically available through prayer, through meditation, through seeking to atone for your own mistakes, monitor vigilantly your own stuff. Where did you get it wrong? Where do you have to make an apology? Where do you have to make an amends? Where do you have to make a change? Come on, get it right. You played that from a kind of weak place. Come on, be strong. You can be better today. Is there anybody you have to apologize to? Or if you're judging someone else, come on, where's the mercy? Where's the judgment? Atoning for our mistakes, forgiving others for theirs, knowing that anything other than that is a cluttering of our system so that we cannot be radically available. But if we say, both in our own lives and in the life of the planet, use me, dear God, just use me.